You find a Playboy magazine.
But it wasn't just pornography,
No.
it was women. Why women? Why do you feel that?
Well, at the age of 5, I was molested by a friend of the family who had molested a lot of children in the neighborhood. And when I didn't perform for him the things he wanted to do, he would go into the bedroom and he would rape his sons. So I felt sort of obliged.
My goodness. You were sabotaged from the very beginning, but then something very traumatic happened to you. Tell me about the fire.
I was at a brownie meeting and my mom didn't come pick me up. And I called over to my grandfather's house and he was a little mad. She's been over at the house doing laundry, wondering where she was. But she never abandoned me any time. So he was a little confused. So he had come and picked me up, and from a distance we saw this poof of smoke. And I just started praying. So I didn't want anybody, in that house to get hurt. And when we got there, it was our house. It was my house. My mom was in there. And I blamed myself for her death.
Now, you really were close to God before that point, but
Yeah.
why did that cause you to feel distant from God?
Well, I found her in the kitchen with the phone in her hand. I had hung up the phone. She had picked it up. And a little girl, the enemy finds opportunities. And in my brokenness, he found it. And he said, it's your fault. Your God does not love you. If he loved you, this wouldn't happen. And the reason it happened was because you're bad, you're a murderer, you killed your mother.
And you believe that?
And I believe so.
So you were estranged from God between that point till age 30.
Yeah.
You went to live with your father, and that wasn't so great either. Why?
My father was a witch. Well, he practiced a lot of the dark arts, a lot of occult. And when I got in there, I was numb. I had no feeling at all. And there's alcohol readily available, and pot and everything else. So the first time I took a drink, I was about 7, and it numbed the pain. And thereafter, for the next couple of years, as soon as an emotion would come, and I'd go to my father to deal with the emotion, he'd tell me that it was all in my head, that I was just being a martyr and a selfish child, and I would go numb. I'd go back to his liquor cabinet. And by the age of 9, I was drinking daily.
And things even got worse. You had an incident with a woman?
Oh, well, that started when I was about 10, where...
That's pretty young, Tracy.
Yeah. Girlfriends would come over, and apparently they were going through things too, because we were attracted to each other. And it was, a lot of heavy petting and being in the arms of somebody who loves you.
But I imagine the trauma of all traumas was when your own father tried to molest you.
Yeah, I was older then. When I was 13, I was extremely well built. And he'd dress me up in silks and satins and take me out with his friends, and they would use me and abuse me also. And all I knew to give was to have somebody love me, was to give my body up. So I gave my body up to men, I gave my body up to women, I gave my body up to anyone who would take it.
At that point, did you think it was just normal?
Yes, because sexuality and sensuality was all over our home. I've seen my parents naked more times than I care to imagine.
So when your father molested you, you left home.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Home. I was 14.
So what does a 14-year-old girl do in this big world? I mean, I don't know how you could have coped. I can picture my own daughter when she was 14. I don't see how she would have coped in an environment like the world.
Well, I hung out with one of his friends, and she introduced me to a couple of people that had some clubs. And because I had hung out with my father, these people had seen me in the bars with my dad, knew my dad. So I started dancing and the striptease, taking my clothes off for a living at 14.
Were you well compensated for this?
Yes.
How much were you making a year?
I think we added it up, and the first and second years, I probably made about $200,000 a year.
And looking back then, were the alcohol, the drugs, the sex, was that enough of an opiate to mask all your problems, or were you hurting on the inside?
Oh, Sid, for a time it was fun. I was numb. All those emotions could die. I created, being a minor, I had to create 10 years to add up to my fake ID that I had. So I had a whole new life. I created a big lie for 10 years. I lied about my age. I had to. So I lied about everything. I mean, I had new parents. I came from wealth. All I had to do was get on the phone and call. They drop $1 million in the bank for me. I'm doing this because I'm beautiful.
Sexual perversion of every kind, prostitution,
Yes.
stripping, all the things that you see in the movies. It doesn't happen in real life, but unfortunately it does happen in real life. But then you started getting some troubling dreams.
Yeah, I started having dreams that would wake me in the middle of the night screaming because I would be in pain of gunshots. The dream would start that everything would be fine. I was in a brothel in New Orleans, Louisiana, is where the dream was set. I thought it was from a past life. So I was there, and I remember running. I see myself on the stairs, and I come running down the stairs on the side of a building into an alleyway, and it's all cobblestone, and I'm running, and I've got this red nightie on, long red nightgown, and I hear boom, a shot, and I get a shot here, and it's fire, instant fire, and here on my back, and I'm on my face, on the ground, and I hear click, click, and the last shot wakes me up, and it's the shot to my head.
Now, what did you do about these reoccurring dreams?
I had to go to New Orleans. It drove me. I couldn't, they drove me. I knew that because of all the things that I had been in, you know, the reincarnation and believing all these things, that I had to go and I had to deal with this thing or die or go there to die. So I put it in my heart and I settled it in my heart that I'm going to go to New Orleans. I'm going to live this out. And if this is the way that I'm going to die and be over all of this, that's the way it's going to go.
Okay, what'd you find in New Orleans?
I found sin. I found, mouth-watering sin. And I loved it. I loved it. I worked the bars then instead of prostituting myself. I did prostitute myself in New Orleans, but I worked the bars, mostly graveyard shift tending bar. And that's when all the sickos would come out, between 12 o'clock at night and 10 in the morning.
Now, what type of people would come out at that time?
Oh, the people that the enemy uses to torment witches. People that are human beings, but you would never know it because of all of the hatred and their bodies actually changing. And
Changing?
Yeah.
What do you mean by changing?
Their look changes. The face of a human, but it's not human.
It sounds almost like it's demonic.
Very demonic. That's
were
when
you
all the witches
into
come out.
lesbianism then?
Oh yes.
So you thought you were a lesbian?
Oh no, I wanted everybody, but I preferred women. You know, I like being with women. See, what it is I couldn't get over and play the game on women because, you know, they're women. So I'd have women girlfriends and I'd go play the game on men so I could get over on them. I could lie to them and anything I said, they would, okay, fine, let's go out to dinner. And then they'd take me out to dinner, and if they wanted a favor, they had to pay.
Why did you leave New Orleans?
I hooked up with some sicko and ended up going up to Princeton, New Jersey, and this is where God really, really, really started working in my life. I had envisioned things and hurting a young woman like me. I started getting very violent with women, and I started having very horrible, horrible, horrible thoughts that I was planning to work out. I was planning to walk them out.
Just give me an idea. What kind of thought?
Abductions, getting involved in snuff films. I was really wanting to get involved in hardcore pornography.
Take me to the time you looked in the mirror and really saw Tracy Lay.
I got really scared when I was in Princeton, and I ran back to Florida and hooked up with some other guy and went up down to Key West. I was down there a couple years, and I had a whole lot of fun, but you see, with practicing witchcraft, you can't just put it down and walk away. So they were following me everywhere, and everything was happening. So I'm sitting in bars.
Who was following you?
Every demon in hell, it seemed.
You couldn't change location.
I couldn't change location. I'd say, just stop it. I'm not doing that anymore. I just want to have fun. Leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I'm here to have a good time. I don't want to make a commitment to you.
Okay, so you're living with another sicko. It seems like there's sick people.
Yeah.
It's a magnet.
Oh, it's like ticks.
And you're looking in the mirror. What happened?
Been another night at 8 balls of cocaine, shooting it up in my arms and smoking it when I couldn't find a vein. And he'd gone to work. The only reason he was there was for the money. And I looked in the mirror and said, and I didn't like what I saw. And memories of a little girl who loved God came flooding back. The beauty had faded. There was no more beauty left anymore from the abuse and the mileage and the drugs. I was ugly and I was painfully hurt, and I just wanted to die. And I was going to take my life that day.
And right at that point, you prayed a prayer. What was it?
I sat down on the floor and I said, oh God. It was a pastor from a local church and a little boy, and they were inviting people to come see a movie, A Sound of Distant Thunder.
The timing was pretty unique.
Yeah, it was pretty supernatural.
So you saw the movie?
Yeah, I did. And that's what I needed. I needed Jesus. I needed him back in my life, and all the memories came flooding back because he always answered my prayers and he always talked to me. And I had to ask him to come back into my life and to save me.
So you went home and you told this guy that you were living with what had happened, and was he unhappy?
He was basically said a prayer in 71, thought he was saved, going to heaven, could do whatever he wanted to do, and got very angry with me. And
one night, what did he do to you?
well, I'd fallen so in love with God, and I'd been fasting and praying, and had gone through a marvelous deliverance, delivered of all the legions and all the demons and all the stuff that had happened. And he got very angry, and he went out and he got drunk, and he came home, and he put his hand around my throat and put me down on the sofa, and he said, now, you ready to go? Do you want to be with Jesus? I'm going to take you to him right now. You're going. And I couldn't breathe, and blood was coming out of my mouth, and he was getting ready to kill me. It was time.
Did he break your jawbone?
Yeah, but soon after that, he had said, hang on a second, and I went to get up, and he punched me, and he literally broke my face in half.
And you screamed out, and a neighbor came in your defense, but here's what I have to find out. So you got set free there. What happened to your drug addiction, your sexual perversion, your alcoholism? You had contracted hepatitis B and C. You had lung problems. You had liver problems. Tell me about them.
They're gone.
All gone?
All gone. I'm healed. I'm 100% healed.
Wait. That hepatitis B and C, there's no healing for that.
The great physician, Jesus, is the healing for that.
You're married today.
Yes, I am.
How happily?
Wonderfully happily.
And do you have desires for women now?
No, I don't. Oh, Satan tries to attack me with it. But you know what? There's something that I do.
What's that?
I agree quickly with my adversary while I'm in the way, according to Scripture. I agree with him. I say, oh, yeah, devil. Yeah, she is pretty. And you know, before then, I would really enjoy having company with her. But Jesus. And I start worshiping. And before, the instant that thought's gone. See, it's just a thought that tries to rise itself above the knowledge of Christ. It's just a thought. It's not my thought. It's his thought.
Now, you told me when you were having problems as a new believer, God told you to do something about the Psalms. What did he tell you?
Well, it was the broke face. I was laying in bed and my face was broken. This man was in jail. And I said, oh God, I love you and I don't know what to do. And, a lot of people think he's going to come and, say, oh, it's okay, baby, rock. But I heard this, and I don't know if it was audible or not, but I heard this. He said, Tracy, read me the Psalms. I love the Psalms.
Well, you read one psalm right now to God, but I believe